Well, it seems like an eternity, but there are only 692 days to go in Joe Biden's first term. Will he run again? He hasn't announced, but his wife gave us a little insight. We'll explore other options and show you why federalism really does work. That plus the news of the day and a reason laxatives may be removed from the White House. All on this episode of Dale Carter's America.
From the heart of flyover country, he's not on the far right, and he's certainly not on the far left. Like you, he's somewhere in the middle. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, we have a lot to talk about on the podcast today. First of all, I want to tell you why I'm wearing this particular shirt. This is a big week on KFKF, the radio station. Now, this is probably going to air, Kurt, Wednesday?
Correct.
Okay. So Thursday and Friday this week, KFKF will be conducting our 27th annual Country Cares St. Jude Radiothon. It's a wonderful facility. It's in Memphis, but it shares its protocols freely with hospitals all over the world. And because of people who donate, no patient family ever gets a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food. So Thursday and Friday, you can get one of these shirts if you'll become a partner in hope by calling 1-800-330-9727. We'll also have an online link set up at kfkf.com. And for the first time ever, Kurt, we're going to do two different kinds of shirts. You heard about this?
Yeah.
So we're going to do the navy with the white on it. This shirt saves lives. And for Chiefs fans, since we won the Super Bowl, there will be an option with a red T-shirt with the gold. This shirt saves lives. So it's going to be quite an event. 27th time that we've done this on KFKF, raised over $11 million to wipe out childhood cancer. And the folks here in the podcast audience, Dale Carter's America, we'd love to have you join us as a partner in hope. At least listen and hear the stories of some of these patient families and what they go through and how St. Jude makes a difference in their lives. Trust me, if you're like me, and I got this tour and saw the stories back in 1992, and it really changed my life, I think it will change your life as well. I want to thank our sponsors on Dale Carter's America. First, we start with Bob Watson, our friendly State Farm agent. Look at that big smile. See, if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, you get all of the colorful pictures and the videos that you're going to hear. But if you're audio only, just trust me, Bob Watson has a tremendous smile, and he'll take care of you as your local State Farm agent for 5 decades. You can find him at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, Missouri, but he's licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. He'll take care of auto, home, life, commercial insurance. We're getting closer to warm weather. That boat you've got, it's going to need insurance as well. You can find Bob at 816-229-7878. He and his staff have been there for a very long time, taking care of folks like me. He's my insurance guy, and you should check him out if it's time to compare rates. Royal Roofing and Solar, it's springtime, man. You want to think about that house. Not a joke. Not a joke, man.
It's not a joke.
Not a joke. Your roof needs attention, and Royal Roofing and Solar can get it done for you. There are tax credits and grants for small rural business and ag producers as well. Austin Watterson and his family, they've gotten into solar as well. He can show you how that works, how you can turn your home into its own utility. You can do your own gas and electric, basically, right there with solar. And Austin Watterson will show you how. Royal Roofing, great folks, 816-540-7057. They've done the roof at Casa del Carter, and we are very happy with what they did for us. Funhouse Pizza, a couple of locations for Jim Dingman's group there, 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Go see them if you're you're hungry, right? You want a pizza? It's got the topping. Look at those toppings on
wings.
There. Man, oh man. And he's got wings and cold beverages too. It's a great place to schedule your kid's birthday party. Funhouse Pizza, it's got fun in the name and all kinds of great contests that they have there. 50 Highway Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs, and we're getting close to our next outing, I would think, when it gets a little bit warmer. We'll probably go back to Lee Summit there on 50 Highway. That's a nice big location, and we had a great crowd that night, too.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
So thanks to our sponsors. We'll get to Dr. Mark coming up here with Midwest GI Health and Wellness. I like to tie the sponsors into some of the stories, and I've got a real jewel for Dr. Mark on this one. I'm sure that he will appreciate that.
It's
right?
a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump right in and talk about COVID, because, we've talked about COVID so much in the history of this podcast, and now all of a sudden, the Department of Energy and the FBI have pretty darn good confidence that the lab leak most likely the origin of COVID-19, not the wet market, not the bat or whatever, that it came out of a lab in Wuhan. And isn't it interesting, Kurt? Because if you had that opinion at a certain time, you were a whack job.
Yeah.
You got kicked off Facebook. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing I want to say about it, and I'm interested in what you have to say about this. The media at the time, it's almost, Kurt, like they said, well, what does Donald Trump think? Okay, does Donald Trump think the sky is blue? Then we think it's orange, right? Orange man bad. And all of them, basically it was like, let's see what Trump says about something, and then we're going to go the complete opposite way. And if you agree with what Trump said, you're a complete moron. And it's not only that you're a complete moron, this is absolutely dangerous. And I think that's dangerous for the media to do.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they be curious and want to know what's going on and hear both sides of a story and investigate it? I mean, Tom Cotton, the senator from Arkansas, they excoriated him because he thought it came from a lab.
Well, you have to think, I mean, our intelligence agencies, they may be sinister, but they're not stupid. You know, I think they've known this the whole time. That's my opinion. So if that's true, I mean, then why were they lying about it? Why were they saying it came from the wet market if they knew that it was a lab leak from the beginning, which I believe? And I think it's because, you know, our government has ties to the lab. Our government has ties to gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, through the National Institutes of Health and Dr. Fauci and all the rest of it. So, you know, I think they tried to put that off as long as possible to really acknowledge that. And now, you know, he's out of government and people, I think, have lost interest, unfortunately, to a large degree. You know, it's going to be even harder. Every day that goes by, it's going to be harder to have hearings and hold these people accountable, like Dr. Fauci for lying under oath or for using American taxpayer dollars to fund this research in China, which is an adversarial country, obviously. You know, and I think every day that goes by, people lose interest. You know, there's inflation, there's gas prices, there's all these other things that people are worried about. And so they're waiting for people to lose interest, and then they can just kind of casually, under the radar, acknowledge what we've all known to be true this whole time.
Anybody apologizing yet for how they treated people who thought the other way?
No, of course not.
I mean, I said from the beginning, I have no idea. And one thing you'll find out about me if you don't already know this is if I don't know something, I'm not going to try and bullshit my way through it and tell you that I do know it. More often than not, it's like, okay, well, let's wait. Let's get the facts. Let's find out what's going on here. But you can't shut somebody down just because orange man bad. And that's where our media was with Donald Trump. Anything Donald Trump said, they went the opposite way.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right. And this is, again, it's like another one of these kind of conspiracy theories. I'm using quotation marks with my fingers because all of the, at least like the conspiracy theories that most people acknowledge, I'm not obviously talking about flat earth or anything like that, but all these conspiracy theories about COVID turned out to be true. I mean, every single one. That it came from the lab, that it wasn't as dangerous as people said, that the vaccine wasn't what we were promised
masks
it was.
Were not necessary.
Masks work, you know, all these things are just not true. And that's what a lot of people have been speculating or saying since nearly the beginning or since the very beginning of this. And now we're being vindicated, but it's kind of too late because the damage has already been done and people are not going to care enough to do anything about it. 16
million people died, you know, because of what came out of a Chinese lab. Then there were lies about it. What about all the people who lost their jobs because they stood up and said, you know, I'm not going to do this. I don't believe it. I'm not going to do it. Well, then you lose your job. You lose your business. We're going to shut you down. It just so much BS that came out of this. And I hope we've learned a lesson here. I'm cynical that we've learned a lesson, but I'm hopeful that we've learned a lesson.
I think some people have, you know, I mean, a lot of people that fell for it are now seeing that they were duped. You know, a lot of people that got the vaccine in retrospect are like, I shouldn't have gotten it, you know, and it's unfortunate that they were pressured into doing something that they maybe didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful, if you want to be white-pilled or optimistic, I'm hopeful that the next time something like this happens, maybe people will be a little bit more skeptical and will actually stand up for themselves a little bit more, but you never know.
Yeah, I think I said this at the height of all of this, that I was talking to a doctor connected to a very large health system in the Kansas City area, and he admitted to me that it was all about money, that they were diagnosing anybody and their brother with COVID so they could get federal money.
Yep.
Because everything COVID came with a federal price tag. So in a lot of ways, it was all about money. So again, hopefully we've learned some lessons. What lessons will we learn out of what's going on in Ohio? Because that is the big buzz thing going on here, the train derailment. The EPA guy, I give him kudos. He's been to East Palestine, Ohio several times. I don't know that he drank the water. I heard that he took a glass of water and put it up to his lips and then put it down. So he hasn't guzzled the water there yet. Pete Buttigieg finally did show up, and he was wearing his designer boots. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was so cute. So cute.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of shots of him in the hard hat with the boots and stuff, and there was some inappropriate memes, I guess, that will not show on the show, but you can use your imagination.
And, the liberal media is funny, and I know you got a clip on this that we're going to get to, but basically they're blasting the people in East Palestine for voting for Trump because Ohio is a bright red state now. It's like, you voted for Trump. This is what you get.
Yeah.
This is what you get. Is that what we've come to in this country? If something bad happens, you break it down to which way they went in a presidential election? Is that where we are? God, I hope not. And then Joe Biden, of course, he's been Joe Biden. We've got a lot of clips today on Joe Biden, and the first one is outside the White House. He's waiting to catch his helicopter to go somewhere, and they say, "Have you been to East Palestine, Ohio yet? Are you planning to go?" And he's like, "No, but we've got it handled." Show him how he's got it handled here.
Palestine, Ohio. Are you planning to travel to East Palestine, Ohio?
This time I'm not. I did a whole video. What the hell? Zoom?
Yeah, help me out there. Zoom.
Every time I think of Zoom, that's calling my generation. Who's zooming who?
Who's zooming who?
The answer is that I had a long meeting with my team and what they're doing. We were there 2 hours after the train went down. 2 hours.
Yeah.
We, not you.
Major figure in both.
That's all I want.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to
really
understand
him.
Yeah.
But he can't get Zoom. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, when he gets in these situations where he can't get the word, he almost looks like he's in pain, right?
Yeah.
He scrunches him, and then finally it's like a record that's been stuck, and maybe Zoom and Who or whatever that record was back in the day on a wire recorder, I'm sure, in the days before radio, that may be the case. And then he's on ABC News, and it's like, have you even talked to the mayor of the town yet?
So do you plan to travel there, and have you talked with the mayor?
I can't recall whether I don't think I've talked to the mayor. I've talked to everyone else there, and multiple times. Talked to both the senators, both governors. I've talked to everyone there is to talk to.
Yeah, okay.
And
all
we
right.
made it clear.
That's fine. That's enough of that. But, a couple of things to grab from that. He doesn't recall if he's talked to the mayor of the town with the biggest disaster going on in this country right now.
Right.
Wouldn't you recall that? Wouldn't you know? And then the other thing, it's kind of a math question.
Not if you've had too much laxative.
Well, don't
I'm
spoil
teasing.
that.
I'm
You got to
teasing.
tease forward on that. And then he says he's talked to both senators and both governors. Okay, well, that's a math problem because you gave him an out on that. Maybe it's the governor of Ohio and Pennsylvania because it's close to Pennsylvania. But there would be 2 senators in Pennsylvania, too. So it's either 4 senators and 2 governors or 2 senators and 1 governor.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's Joe Biden, so he gets a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the latest on what's going on in Ohio? We have a news story on that, so let's get to the facts.
Tonight, emotions still running high in East Palestine, Ohio.
The most frustrating part is Norfolk Southern is making me question whether I'm a good parent.
3 weeks since the Norfolk Southern toxic train derailment, Sharice Munyon, mother of 2, says she's feeling trapped between a sea of information and instinct.
I have a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, and are they going to, in 10 years, be diagnosed with cancer that's from this?
These renewed fears come as truckloads of hazardous waste from the site are once again on the move. After the EPA temporarily paused shipments over the weekend, they're now being transported from East Palestine to EPA-vetted disposal sites in nearby cities.
The addition of these disposal locations gets us closer to having enough capacity to finish the cleanup.
Officials in Michigan and Texas irate over what they say was a surprise delivery of tons of contaminated waste from the derailment.
The outward effect of it looks like we're being sandbagged.
Ohio's governor announcing 5 truckloads of contaminated soil were returned to East Palestine. As the NTSB continues its investigation, Norfolk Southern says it continues to work on track removal at the site as well as soil excavation, while the CDC continues door-to-door survey efforts to check on residents.
Has anyone been to your door?
Not one person.
And what does that tell you?
That they don't care.
NBC News has learned the head of the EPA, Michael Regan, is visiting East Palestine for the 3rd time tomorrow to visit the derailment site and meet with residents.
All right. I'd have a lot more respect for Michael Regan if he'd take a big guzzle of the water and let him know that everything is fine there in East Palestine.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
So there you go. It's a red state. They voted for Trump. And Joy Behar, we can't have a podcast episode without Joy Behar. And she's basically, it's like you got what you deserve.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, man. It really is. Okay. Here we go.
People don't know why they would ever vote for him, for somebody who, by the way, he placed someone with deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who you voted for in that district.
There you go. You
Donald
deserve
Trump, who reduces all safety. He did.
Reduces all safety.
Yeah. Well, while we're throwing out wild ass, turn that off. While we're throwing out wild ass allegations. I heard a report that basically the problem with the rail infrastructure goes back to something Obama did. So we can play the blame game all damn day if you want. We don't need to do that. They just need to they're running the show now. This is their 2nd year running the show. Yeah. Stop blaming people. Get in there and do something about it.
Well, I mean, I think it is relevant sometimes to point to like, oh, you voted for this as the consequences of the policy that you wanted. I mean, we do that here, when we talk about crime in the inner cities, when we talk about gas prices, when we talk about other things. But
that's different.
She's just grasping at straws, though. I mean, she's just grasping at straws. There's no connection to be made there. She's just trying to say, oh, they voted for Trump. Yeah. They don't matter,
Well, we've talked about the Democrat playbook before, and she loves running that play of, blame Trump. It's Trump's fault.
Oh, yeah. Always. It seems like she can't get through a segment without bringing him up. He lives rent-free in her mind.
Indeed, he does. Speaking of the liberal media, NPR, National Public Radio, NPR.
Oh, we got to do our NPR voice.
To cut 10% of its workforce. But they're trying to make sure, in light of the cuts, that the cuts don't disproportionately affect employees of color, because that would be unwoke, right? We need to have equity here in the cutting of 10% of the workforce at NPR, National Public Radio.
We at Dale Carter's America believe in equity in our workforce. We are 100%
really?
White.
So if there's a white guy and a black guy and they're on the bubble at NPR, and they got to cut by 10%. Sorry, Whitey. You're out of here.
Sorry, Whitey.
Sorry, Whitey.
Peace out, Whitey.
Joe Biden's a white guy. Did you know that?
I did, yeah. Well, he told us, we'll get to that too.
There's so much on this podcast that we're teasing forward. But that's the deal. They're trying to make sure that the cuts at NPR, first of all, I'd cut everybody at NPR. Yeah. I wouldn't put $1 of tax revenue into this. Why does one tax dollar go to support National Public Radio?
I would make sure that the cuts disproportionately affect people of color and people of not color and everybody else.
Exactly. Everybody else be shown the door because there's no need for it. Maybe there was a time in this country when you had ABC, NBC, CBS that you needed something, a little different. But at a time, I don't know about you, Kurt, but I think I can get like 500 channels in my house.
Yeah.
And this is the free market. And if there's a market for it, they'll come.
Yeah.
So NPR really should stop taking tax money, get out in the arena of ideas and sell yourself. And if you sell yourself and people want to buy it, go for it. I mean, we already got CNN and MSNBC, but maybe there's enough ad dollars to support you as well.
Plus, now there's Dale Carter's America, so we're not getting taxpayer money. So now you can go check out Dale Carter's America on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Speaking of race, Tennessee's largest county, Shelby County, which includes Memphis, Tennessee, will now join Kansas City and many other places studying reparations. So you've got a clip from their council meeting, and I've got a point I want to make after.
An emotional Shelby County Commission meeting.
Don't dare say I'm un-American because I support this.
You're un-American because you support this.
Exactly. That was Kurt Wheeler, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't dare do that.
Ended in Shelby County, joining a growing number of locations looking into studying reparations.
The item passes.
A subcommittee of 13 people nominated by county commissioners will work to find actionable items in 5 categories: increasing access to affordable housing and home ownership, affordable health care, systemic disenfranchisement in the criminal justice system, career opportunities, and financial literacy and generational wealth.
Okay.
Well, we're
so
trying to say...
this isn't going to go anywhere. And I have a theory on this, okay? Left-wing virtue signaling to keep blacks voting Democrat. It's almost like, oh my God, they're starting to see through the charade. It's like maybe they're going to start opening their eyes and saying they don't all have to think the same way. So we got to dangle this carrot. It's like, we've got reparations over here. Never mind the fact that no one, and the Pharaoh here in Kansas City is a lot smarter than me. He went to law school and all that. Certainly he knows that there are problems with this from a legal perspective, I would think. There's no way to do this. But they're going, what was the phrase they used in the story? They're going to something about studying it. They've got so many outs on this at the very beginning of the clip. There's so many outs on this that it's never going to happen. Yeah. It's not practical. It is never going to happen. Yet they've dangled the carrot, and it's like, if you'll just stay in line, if you'll just keep voting for us, we're almost there.
I mean, I don't know, man. Never say never. It's crazy things that we did not see happening as far as, race-based policies and things have already happened. I mean, we already have race-based aid that we have our vice president. We played that clip a couple weeks ago or last week that is possibly already being implemented. We definitely had race-based treatment for COVID in hospitals and other things like that. We had that during the pandemic, and that was exposed. So I wouldn't be too surprised if places like, San Francisco, for example, which has already talked about this, actually do go through with it and try and implement it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, close to home here in Kansas City, it's something we can keep an eye on as well. But I just think they've given themselves so many outs here that it's never going to happen. They're going to keep kicking this can down the road, and they're just trying to keep their base together, just trying to keep their base voting for the Democrats over and over and over again. And I'm hopeful that more and more black people are waking up every day saying, what have you really done for us? Mm-hmm. What have you done for me? What have you done for my family other than keep me under your thumb? Mm-hmm. And when more and more people see that and see that you don't have to think this way, you can think this way because it's America, but you don't have to think that way. I mean, isn't that a little different than what they're saying? They're saying you have to think this way.
Well, yeah, their entire platform on race is based on grievance, and that's the best way to control somebody is if you make them think that they're oppressed and you make them think that they're owed something, and then they're going to vote for you every time. If people think that they can make what they make for themselves and that they have to forge their own path in life, then it's going to be much harder to control them, and it's going to be much harder to predetermine who they vote for to the tune of 90% or whatever it is.
Biden's a white boy, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Still a white boy?
Yep.
Where are you putting that clip, by the way? Can we do it now?
Yeah.
Let's do it now.
Let's do it now. Screw it.
Do it out of order. Biden's a white boy.
Oh, man. I got to find it. Quick, distraction. No, I found it. Biden's a white boy.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid.
What's the clip that you pulled up has like the sign language interpretation? Yeah. Go back to that because I want to know what that looks like.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid.
So when you wave your hands like this, it's
One more time.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I know where the power is.
Oh, yeah.
I know where the power. You think I'm joking?
Not a joke.
I learned a long time ago about the.
I'm watching that now. I'm watching that now. And just looking at the. So if you're not watching,
you're missing out on the sign language interpretation.
The sign language interpreter is a black woman, for what it's worth, and it just looks like she's kind of making fun of him, like when he says "I'm stupid." Like watch her look. The look on her face.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I know where the power is.
Okay, there's our fun.
Enough
for
of
today.
that. All right, so we are moving into a segment on Joe Biden. What if he doesn't run? 692 days to go in his first term. And if you voted for Joe Biden, suck it. I'm going to say that every time because you are getting exactly what you voted for. We have another image of the president tripping up Air Force One after delivering a speech with no plan for Ukraine other than pouring in billions and billions of your tax dollars. Here we go. Watch that step. And he walks like the Tim Conway character on the old Carol Burnett show. Look that up somewhere, and you'll see him walking really, really slow. Now, I'm a klutz, and I've tripped up things before. I've tripped up steps. I think everybody has. But, this is the leader of the free world.
Yeah, and you notice, too, one thing that I noticed about this, and maybe this is my tinfoil hat, coming out, but look at how lit up the stairs are. Have they always been like that? Have the stairs always had bright ass lights all the way up? It's like,
I don't know. Maybe we should get an escalator. Can they do an escalator that'll go all the way to the top of the plane? Just stand right here, Mr. President, and we'll take you up.
Yeah, or like a pulley. Like there's a guy at the bottom or at the top just pulling him up on a rope with a pulley.
So he's basically not saying anything about an announcement coming. His wife, on the other hand, apparently she really likes living in the White House sometime. Most of the time they're in Delaware, but sometimes they're at the White House.
He says he's not done. He's not finished what he started. And that's what's important. And I think, look at all that Joe has done, has accomplished.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome.
Is all that's left at this point is just to figure out a time and place for the announcement?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So she's basically got him in the deal there, whether he knows it or not. He probably doesn't know it.
That's just that's really unfortunate because he clearly is not well, right? And you would think that your wife should be the first person to look out for you, to look out for your health. He's not well, and he shouldn't be in this position just for his own health, take him to an old folks home, take him to, get him taken care of. It's just clear to me that she wants the spotlight. She likes being first lady, and that's why she wants him to run. It's very selfish.
Well, my view on it is 692 days to go, and you better do every damn one of them. No taking off days.
Yeah.
You are the president for 692 more days. There are Democrats out there who are nervous, and they are looking for options. And one name that keeps coming up to the top there is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. So I thought it might be helpful for our audience, Kurt, to look at the state of California, because this may well come down to, it could come down to DeSantis and Gavin Newsom. Let's say that neither Trump or Biden are in the 2024 race. Let's say it comes down to California versus Florida. The election that we just went through in 2020, depending on where you're sitting, came down to the crazy orange man versus the stable statesman who is going to return normalcy to our country. That's the way they looked at it from the left. From the right, we looked at it as, here's a guy who got some things done, who came in. Maybe he broke some china in the China store there, but that's kind of an ironic way to phrase that. Maybe he was a bull in a China shop, more or less, but he got some things done versus the crazy old senile guy who's never even run a hot dog stand. So that's pretty, wouldn't you say that's, depending on where you are, that's how it shook out, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay. So if we have a DeSantis-Gavin Newsom election, it might well come down to, let's look at how you ran your state, Gavin Newsom, and how you ran your state, Ron DeSantis. I like that argument.
Well, I don't think there's any possible scenario in which the left allows that to be the framing of any election. Because if that's the framing of the election, they lose every time. Or at least they have a much greater chance of losing.
Well,
if it's anybody, and we've talked about this before, it doesn't have to be Trump. It can be the most milquetoast person ever. It can be Jeb Bush. It can be Mitt Romney. They're going to call him a racist. They're going to call him a misogynist.
They are.
They're going to try and muddy the water and distract people from the issues. And that's going to happen regardless of who the nominee is.
Where you and I part company is, I don't think Ron DeSantis will make it easy for them. I think Donald Trump makes it easy for them. He goes out every day and writes the stories for them. So he makes it easy. I don't think DeSantis will. But let's look at California first. The latest news out of California is yet another district will dumb down education in the name of, you guessed it, equity.
Oh, boy. Another California district axes honors classes in the name of equity.
Yeah.
So, Culver City High School.
Again, I mean, they're bringing down the curve because there are people in this world who can't hack it. And that's going to be the case no matter where you are. But why are you penalizing people who would be in an honors class because there are certain people out there who can't hack it?
Yeah, it's just amazing to me how dumbed down our education system has become. I mean, we're totally focusing on the wrong things. We're getting away from actually educating students on real things. And, now we're teaching about climate change and gender ideology and the history of, quote unquote, racism in America and all these things, and getting away from the basics. And there was something that came across my Twitter feed that I wanted to just pull up real quick, because this is an 8th grade examination. So in order to pass 8th grade, you had to pass this exam. And it's from 1912 in Kentucky. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and pause this real quick and just read through some of these questions, but I'll just read a couple of them. There's reading, arithmetic, grammar, geography, physiology, civil government history. So civil government. Define the following forms of government: democracy, limited monarchy, absolute monarchy, republic. Give examples of each. Name 5 county officers and the principal duties of each.
So these aren't like multiple guess. These are like fill in the blank.
Yeah. Name 3 rights given to Congress by the Constitution and 2 rights denied Congress.
There
8th grade.
There are judges that Joe Biden wanted to appoint. Remember, we did an episode on this where they couldn't pass this test.
Yeah, no way. And I mean, that's not even getting into the math,
Oh, don't get into math. I'm not a math guy.
A man sold a watch for $180 and lost 16.5%. What was the cost of the watch? And think this is 1912 too, so we're not dealing with calculators. We're not dealing with like Wikipedia, where you're sitting at your desk.
How
and
much
you're
was
like,
that watch?
I don't know this one.
How much was the watch in 1912?
A man sold a watch for $180.
That's $180 in 1912.
It's a Rolex, man. It's a Rolex. Yeah.
All right, so and growing up in Indiana, we used to look at Kentuckians as knuckle draggers, and yet this was their examination in 1912. So
I mean, this is like
take that, California.
Yeah, this is like a homeschool. Like if you're homeschooling your kids, use this test, man, from 1912.
Yeah.
And maybe add some new events in the history section. But other than that, I mean, this is good.
So, I mean, this is the latest out of California, by the way, the dumbing down of yet another district. This also came out last week. San Francisco is looking to ban all gas appliances. That would include gas stoves, gas heaters, anything that runs on natural gas. Now, this is in a city whose electrical grid is already failing, and they say that next, all cars are going to be plug-in cars. So they can't support the electrical grid they have right now. They're going to ban all gas appliances, and the shaky electrical grid that they have now that is based on fossil fuels, don't tell them that, but it is now going to be even shakier as they plug in all these cars. This is Gavin Newsom's California.
Yeah.
The governor of California.
Patrick Bateman. You know who Patrick Bateman is?
I don't.
Have you seen American Psycho? The movie with Christian Bale? He looks like Patrick Bateman.
Okay, I may have to add that to my list or whatever. Okay, so then, also the other thing about California is people are dying to get out of there. They want to leave California. It's kind of a contest right now. Who's going to leave more? Which residents are going to leave their state more, California or New York? And then, of course, Gavin Newsom is trying to tax them on the way out, too. Yeah. It's like you can move somewhere else, but you're still going to pay taxes to California.
Yeah, and this article here, shows a lot of the states that people from California and New York are moving to. Texas, Florida, there's others. They're starting to move to the south, too, like to places like Kentucky, Tennessee, hopefully not Missouri. But the problem that you have is, we've talked about this before, they leave California, they move to Texas, and then they vote for Democrats in Texas. You have Texas becoming maybe in the next couple election cycles really kind of up for grabs in some national elections. Even Beto O'Rourke, almost won the race for senator. So that's going to be a problem.
Maybe we should not let them vote for so many years after they've moved into the state. Just get there and enjoy it and see what the freedom's all about.
I would be totally fine with that.
That's the number one reason people are moving to Florida is the word freedom. Okay, so Newsom ran San Francisco. He was mayor of San Francisco at one point. You see what San Francisco's like. He barely survived a recall vote as governor, and he is the next best choice that the Democrats have to run for president.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, it's Mayor Pete, because you're still getting rumblings that they're trying to find a way to get Kamala Harris out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean,
did you see this? I saw. Was this yesterday? The days are kind of running together for me because I've been off work for a couple of days. But there was a story out there that someone high up in the Obama administration thought it might be a good idea to let Democrats vote for who should be Joe Biden's running mate if he runs again in 24. Take the choice out of his hands and let Democrats vote.
So they really don't like Kamala.
They really don't, and that's coming from the Obama administration.
Oh man.
It's crazy right now.
Almost feel bad for her. Almost.
So with federalism, and we've talked about federalism quite a bit, we have all these 50 individual states, and we get an idea to see how they run and whether their ideas, their laboratories, whether their ideas would be good for the rest of the country. So in this case, in my scenario where Newsom runs versus DeSantis, I think you have a clear choice, California versus Florida. Which state is getting it right? Let's let America decide.
Yeah. I mean, again, I hope that's the framing of the election. Republicans, DeSantis, whoever runs is going to have to try really hard to control the narrative because it's going to be, there's going to be slings and arrows.
We know right now that Joy Behar is going to be a flamethrower. Mm-hmm. We know that Joy Reid, is that who it is at MSNBC? Mm-hmm. What color is her hair anyway? That's a weird shade. It's like silverish.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, we know that she's going to be a flamethrower against. We know that Jimmy Kimmel, one of the reasons that Greg Gutfeld has the number one talk show in late night right now is because Jimmy Kimmel has turned his show into a liberal show.
Yeah.
And so have the other guys. Fallon, I don't think so much, but definitely Kimmel. And who's the guy on CBS? Looks like a nerd, the glasses.
Seth Meyers?
No.
Corden?
Not Corden.
The chubby guy?
The guy who took Letterman's place.
Oh, Colbert.
Colbert.
Jon Stewart, Colbert, one of those two.
Yeah, Colbert. So, I mean, we know that those people are going to do that. But America is kind of it's an interesting place. It's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right?
Yeah.
And we've kind of been here before. If you don't learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And on a much smaller scale, I would say we've been here before. Jimmy Carter won the White House. He came out of left field. Why did he win the White House? Because Richard Nixon was a dick. And he broke the law, and he created Watergate. And then the guy who came in after him pardoned Richard Nixon. So America didn't want that, right? It's like, we don't want that. Who's this guy over here who's never done anything? He ran Georgia, but he's been outside of Washington. That's who we're going to vote for. And we saw what happened. And then it's like, morning in America. We need to feel good about ourselves. Ronald Reagan came riding in on a white horse, and the rest of that is history. We're kind of at that point again. You've got a guy in there who maybe he got more votes because of the way Donald Trump was acting, and he basically sold a bill of goods that he was going to be this uniter and bring everybody together, and he's done a horrible job. I'm not sure how you can, with any degree of clarity, say that he's done a good job.
Yeah.
Based on what metric?
Well, his wife thinks he's done a good job, so.
Does he have a dog? Because if your dog loves you, everything's fine.
That's true. That's very true.
All right. Well, DeSantis, Donald Trump's in the race. Nikki Haley's in the race. There's another Republican entering the race. I didn't know anything about him. Did you know anything about him?
No.
Okay. Vivek Ramaswamy. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
Okay. He's a 30-something. How old is he?
Yeah, he's actually, I think, like right over the age. You have to be 35 to run.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like 37 or 38, something like that. He's very young as far as presidential candidates go.
We've got a little bit of his video. Before that, the things that jumped out to me from his platform that I really like is he attacks wokeism in this country, okay? big time. I mean, he's written books about it. I haven't read them yet. I saw them online when I did a little research on him. I want to read the books because I think he's going to be right where we are in terms of attacking wokeism. He would shut down non-essential federal agencies, starting with the Department of Education. How many times have we talked about that? How has you talk about the 1912 exam from the state of Kentucky. We didn't have a Department of Education then.
Yep.
We got a Department of Education under Jimmy Carter. And so that happened in the late 1970s. How is education done since the 1970s?
Bad.
I think that's the perfect word for it. So he would shut down non-essential federal agencies, starting with the Department of Education. He would have an 8-year term limit for all federal employees. I mean, there are people shaking in their boots over that because you get one of these gigs and you stay until the bitter end. And what happens with our government is, how do you think we're $31 trillion in debt? Because we've got this mammoth hydra with 1 million heads on it, and we keep adding more. And we keep expanding and expanding and expanding. So he would have a 8-year term limit for all federal employees. He would use our U.S. military to stop drug cartels from flooding the border with fentanyl and other drugs and illegal immigration. How many times have we talked about that? That's one of, I think I could count 5 things that the federal government ought to be doing, and keeping us safe and protecting our borders is one of the 5.
That last one especially just seems like obvious, right? I mean, we should stop people from bringing drugs into our country illegally.
We're not doing it. He would follow up Pride Month, which is June. Pride, about, I guess, being whatever, right? Gay, transgender, transsexual, fill in the blank, ABCD.
Puppy play.
Whatever. He would follow that with American Pride Month in July.
Hell yeah, brother.
I mean, wow, there's something shocking. So you've got a clip of his announcement that I think is.
We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. Faith, patriotism, and hard work have disappeared, only to be replaced by new secular religions like COVIDism, climatism, and gender ideology. We hunger to be part of something bigger than ourselves, yet we cannot even answer the question of what it means to be an American. Today, the woke left preys on that vacuum. They tell you that your race, your gender, and your sexual orientation govern who you are, what you can achieve, and what you're allowed to think. This is psychological slavery, and that has created a new culture of fear in our country that has completely replaced our culture of free speech in America. And that is why today I am announcing my run for President of the United States. This isn't just a political campaign. This is a cultural movement to create a new American dream for the next generation. To me, the American dream means you believe in merit.
What?
That you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. It means you believe the people who we elect to run the government are the ones who actually run the government, not a federal bureaucracy that grows like a national cancer that is now metastasizing to the private sector. It means that the best ideas win instead of getting censored. It means you don't have to choose between speaking your mind freely and putting food on the dinner table.
It's a nice video.
It means you believe these ideals form the backbone
of the
greatest nation on earth, that the rest of the world still looks up to as its example, not the Soviet Union in the last century, and not communist China in this one either. That is the new American dream. Ask yourself if you believe in these ideals. I think most of you do. I think most of you believe your neighbors do too, though you can't be sure because you don't feel free to talk about it anymore. You might disagree with each other about corporate tax rates or about whether ivermectin treats COVID, but those are details. We still agree on our nation's most fundamental principles. At least most of us do. Yet the goal of the ruling party in this country is to convince us that we are divided. Why?
It's not a joke.
So they can accumulate more power for themselves. Well, you know what? I have a dream that we can be one people again. We have obsessed so much over our diversity and our differences that we forgot all the ways we're really just the same as Americans.
Amen.
Bound together by a common set of ideals that brought together a divided, diverse, headstrong group of people 250 years ago. And I believe deep in my bones that those ideals still exist, and I am running for president to revive them. E pluribus unum. From many, one. That is the dream that won the American Revolution. That is the dream that reunited us after the Civil War. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world today. And if we can revive that dream over fractious group identity, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we will need to revive to save this great nation.
Well, we weren't going to run all of that, but man, as you ran that, it's like, wow. That is Vivek Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy.
And that right there is why he's not going to win.
Well, yeah, he's not going to win. He's definitely not going to win. He's young, but he's got great ideas. But the effect of candidates like him is to move the conversation, right? Look at Bernie's impact on Joe Biden. Joe Biden he got along with everybody's senator, right? He was not this liberal.
He touched everybody.
Yeah,
senator,
well, he did
gave
all that
everybody
too.
back rub senator.
but he wasn't this woke extremist. Bernie basically got everything he wanted. They asked Bernie the other day if he was going to run for president. He goes, "Why would I? Biden's basically doing everything I wanted him to do." That's the effect of candidates like this. So a Vivek might take Ron DeSantis for the sake of argument and pour all of this into Ron DeSantis, who's already, I think, a great candidate. If he had an effect on Trump, can you imagine Trump giving a speech like that? I can't, because there's no, oh my, I was treated so horribly. The media hates me, and I was treated very unfairly, and I really won the 2020 election. That doesn't matter to the people of this country. Everything that Vivek said in that video, I think, matters.
It was a great video, really great announcement video. Definitely better than Nikki Haley's. I mean, not that I necessarily dislike Nikki Haley. I mean, I don't think she's the best candidate, but that was great. And I think you're right. He's not going to win, but he's going to hopefully move the conversation forward. It'll be great publicity for him, to kind of
sell a lot of books
himself, promote his career, whatever he has going on. And, maybe if he wants to work in government, maybe he'll get a cabinet appointment or something out of it. But I mean, anything's possible. I'm not trying to.
He could be transportation secretary. He probably doesn't know much about that, but what the hell? We got a guy now that doesn't know anything about it.
I mean, I hate to, just dismiss the guy right when he announces. I mean, we got plenty of time.
Right.
Anything could happen. Maybe he'll have a shot. But
maybe he could. I mean, he definitely is saying all the things I want to hear a candidate say.
Yeah.
That the things that have happened with this whole wokeism, and you're afraid to say this, afraid to say that, cancel culture, and all that. I'm with him 100% on that. An American exceptionalism, because that's what built this country, not what separates us, what brings us together.
Yeah. I think that was a unifying message, and a right-wing message. I think it was a great video. We'll see what happens.
They'll hate it in MSNBC, and Joy Behar probably already has him on her pincushion list. Little voodoo doll. She's got a Vivek voodoo doll. It's like stick. Yeah, I don't believe in that either. I do believe in having insurance, and insurance is something very important to me, should be to you as well, because when things go south, you need a guy in your corner like Bob Watson. He's been serving the folks in Blue Springs, also in the greater Kansas City area, both in Missouri and Kansas, for 5 decades. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. Get that boat insured. Get your home business insured, because you never know when somebody's going to sue you. You need to have insurance, and the guy who can walk you through all the landmines with a great staff to back him up is Bob Watson. 816-229-7878, 7th and Main in Blue Springs. Check out Bob Watson. He's a longtime supporter of what we're doing here on this podcast, because he, like Vivek Ramaswamy, did I say it right that time?
Ramaswamy.
Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Believes in our country. He truly does. Another sponsor that we have is Dr. Mark Taormina. He is with Midwest GI Health in Lee's Summit. Get that colonoscopy. You need it. It's life-saving. If you are 45 or older, you need to get the colonoscopy. And this is a great place to get it done. You can get it done right there in Lee's Summit. They'll get you in. They'll get you out. And, there's a little bit of prep that goes along with it. You got to get everything out before they can go in and take a look. But they are trained to do that, and they will save your life. If they catch it early, they'll save your life. It's that important. So check them out on the web. They're at MidwestGIHealth.com. Now, one of these days when he's not so busy, he's very busy. because he's doing a lot of this stuff. We're going to sit down one-on-one. That's part of the deal when you become a sponsor on the podcast. And really, it's his crazy schedule, not mine, that's keeping that from happening. But I want to ask him about the prep, because that is the thing. You've got so many years before you need to think about this, Kurt. You're not even thinking about it. But what holds people back from getting their colonoscopy is the prep, because you've got to spend a day drinking something that's going to completely flush your system, and you're going to be on the crapper for an entire day.
That doesn't sound so bad.
Oh, you have no idea. It's like you're laying in bed, you're watching a movie, got to go crap again. Think you get it all out, and then you go back and lay down and watch TV. It's like, here it comes again. And it's like wave after wave, because they got to clean you completely out. And it's a great tie-in to how we're going to leave you today, and that is with the new study that's out. There's a new study every day. I'm not sure who's paying for this. Maybe your tax dollars are supporting it, that overuse of laxatives could be linked to dementia risk.
Huh.
Who overuses laxatives? I mean,
yeah, right.
The last time I used one was when I went for my colonoscopy.
Yeah.
I got all cleaned out, got a clean bill of health, and I'm fine. I mean, are there people in this country who are like snacking on them? I don't know.
Laxative-aholics or something?
Doesn't X-Lax come in like a chocolate?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe they're snacking on it. I don't know. So if you're doing that, stop doing it, because it could be linked to a greater chance for dementia. So what they're doing right now is they're cleaning out all of the medicine cabinets in the White House residence. No more X-Lax at the White House, because our president is already, you could make an argument, is borderline. We don't want to push him any further, right?
That's right.
Because he has how many days, Kurt? Do you remember?
696.
692.
Oh, damn.
But, he could win a second term. As you point out to me, anything is possible these days. So 692 is the magic number. How many more days we have to go with Joe Biden in the White House? So for God's sake, remove the laxatives from the medicine cabinet at the White House. And until next week, my friends, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.